How you feeling? Well, you know what you know what you know. How you do? How you do? How you do? We are live today. We hope you're having a good day early Sunday morning or afternoon or midday. It could be Monday, depending on where you are in the world. Let me see if I can get this thing to get going because it takes a time. Bear with me as we're just getting it together. And for an hour today, we are in a Sunday in the last Sunday in February. So let me get everything together. Takes a little time, so we get it all together. Got a lot to talk about. We're gonna get it going, so we're gonna see what we're working with. Let's see. Let me get back up on it here. Got to get everything together. Got to get the crew lined up. See what we got. See what we got. So we're gonna get this thing going real quick. Let me get everything started up. Okay. Let's see. I am live now. Let's see what we got. What we got. I am live now. Let's see what we got. What we got. What we got. What's up? What's happening? Let's see. Trying to get this thing right. Hold up. What's happening? How you doing? Nah, I'm just making sure. Can you hear me okay? Give me a one if you can hear me. Because I'm seeing the questions on one hand, but they're not working on the other. Okay, I see you now. I got you now. Hang on in there because I'm sending this information out. I gotta let people know that I'm live. Stuff's acting up funny. Come on. I don't know what you talking about, but your friend coming over. I don't know who this is. We just live now. So I'm what's happening. So we are okay. So let's talk. What's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a good day. And we alive. And let me know what's going on. I sent out all my streams to let people know that I'm on live today. So let's do it. Good. Glad you're doing good. Glad to have you on. I'm glad you got the message. I'm coming tomorrow too. So I'm on for an hour today, hour tomorrow. So back to back. You get me today and tomorrow. Think maybe a little bit earlier tomorrow. Depends on when I get back. But today, come on. Okay, that's fair enough. I think it's a legit question that I'm asking, though, because some people depends on who you ask. Depends on who you ask about Jesse. Some people are indifferent about him. He was kind of polarizing, so there's a lot goes on with his life. So let's just say that but I think it makes for a good question, though. Hmm. 100% says yes so far, so we'll see. All right. Okay. Trying to see if anybody's on. That's something. I'm back now. I just want to see if anybody's on. See if we got people coming through. I'll be on for an hour, so I just want to see people coming through. So here I am live. We can talk if people want to talk. Hmm. Okay, we'll see what's up. Sometimes things take a little time before they triculate in, so we'll see. What's popping with you, yo? Glad you came on. I'm here for an hour, so let's talk. Let me know what's up. Um, there's a lot to talk about. I thought I'd start with Jesse Jackson since that happened this week. But we can talk about whatever. There's a lot of stuff that went on. There's a lot of stuff went on. What I don't talk about today, we can talk about tomorrow because I will be here tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'll probably try to do 2 hours. Today I'm doing 1 hour. But let's get into some conversation. if the ball can stay healthy, if he can stay healthy. And this is the first time that we all jokes aside. Now, well, you know what? Because the Carolina Panthers made the playoffs. Why not Charlotte? You know, and again, and you know, he's an interesting cat. Because I'm not out sure if I think he's all Zach Levine or is he DeMar DeRozan. I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't really answer. Can't really answer that. That's a bit. That's a bit much to answer because if you don't have all that, then you don't become who you are. And we are, and as black folks, the people who not having that option, I can't really answer that. Some people might have a different thing. I'll say this though. I'll say this. Um, Date of birth is a tricky thing. Uh, your birthplace would be interesting. I'd say I would have loved to had an option to come to America if I wanted to, as opposed to being in America. I'll tell you that. Um, Problem with the era though is because you're gonna miss out on something. Depending on what you're trying to get into. The worst name, probably some old name. You know, I, as much as I like O.J. Simpson as a player, Orenthal had to be like, ugh. You know, well, you did get to experience it. And I always say the 90s was the last era where everything was still normalized. It was the last of its time. AOL came out in 95, but it wasn't nothing like what you end up seeing 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. That was the last of it. And it's a trip when I think about it. Okay. Yeah, you're right, because in your case, you don't know a whole lot of nothing that you didn't get to experience the Ruckus store experience. What a AOL was in a newspaper on a Sunday when people go break their neck to a library to get on the internet super highway, which it's crazy when I think about it. And I'm gonna tell you a story too. You could go on Google, Yahoo at the time before it was Google and look up stuff and get access to crazy stuff that you can't today. It was a different because it was still raw, you know. So if you had a .com, you did all that then. It was, you know, so different era, different time, but the last of that of what I call so-called life as it was. I can tell you that. They're nowhere near the way they were. It's not the same. It feels like it wasn't long ago, but then there's things it feels like it was long ago. So it's a different hit altogether. And I'm gonna tell you something. Back in the day, if you had a cell phone, that thing was like a brick. That meant you had some money. If you had it in your car, in your whip, you had some coinage. There's a whole different mindset to waste stuff. So it's you couldn't imagine. You couldn't imagine. So, but yeah. But you might have that dilemma being 25. You might have that little bit of a problem. Just a tad bit. But it's a good thing that you said that. Yeah, that's when you had the bag. Shoot. Lincoln Continental with that in it, Deuce and a quarter with that in it. Everybody had a long stretch car and they had that phone in there, they had the bag. They had the bag, you know. That was a different situation back then, my friend. So all things, but the thing is that life was more. You had to do more human things. I'll tell you a story. I been back in '90. So me and my crew, me and my cats, we was trying to get to with this woman that my buddy, his friend he worked with, she had a house party. So there was a Domino's pizza. Man, I said, let's go to the pizza place and get the address. Stuff like that. Things that you would not do today, where you utilize your brain. And there was a different era. It was different. You know, there are pros and cons to everything. If I had came up in the YouTube world, I'd have saved a lot of money from going to a record store. But at the same time, I'd have missed out on the smell of going there on Tuesdays, get a new record, getting excited about somebody coming out. So there's pros and cons of stuff. You know, there's things that I can say that, hey, I'm glad I went through it. And then there's things that, it all depends on how you look at it. But I do think that there was more of a communication vibe back then as opposed to now, you know. So it hits differently. Turn this thing on real quick. Yep. Different day, different time. I don't know what that means in English, but just saying. But you know. Um the cons of it was that, for instance, okay, so let's talk music, for instance. So if there was a CD single or a cassette single or something, right? You buy the CD and you get like the album version, where they put the remix on the video version, and that was a hustle in itself. And also, nowadays you can watch your movies quicker. Back then you had to wait to come to cable or what have you, and they 6 months old, and they delayed it, and then with the video stores and all that. So Netflix is different than it used to be, the rentals and all that. So um it's a lot of things that the middleman got cut out of. Nowadays, you could buy you a car online. You can buy whatever you want on your phone. You know, just like you order your pizzas up. There's just things that you can do that was the cons of it. So it's cut out a lot of folks. Oh well, yeah, because you got to remember something. It's not. I'm not gonna say it wasn't as automatic as what you got today. You can't compare when you can go get your phone out or your computer out and pay your bills, as opposed to have to go stand in line to pay your bill. It's a big difference. So it had different weight. I'm not gonna say worse. It just wasn't the same amenities. You know, can't say worse though. Mm. So we'll say worse. When people say something is worse, that means because you didn't have the same options. Now, give us the same options, we can debate. Without the same options, we can't debate. But I'll say this: you had to think more on your feet. I'll give you a good example. I've worked in restaurants, for instance, and when there was a power outage, man, if you come from a certain generation, people don't know how to do anything without their phone. Whereas if you had to do it longhand on your head, none of them, because America made them all. When you say that word fear, you're acting like they didn't have access to the states, like someone didn't put money in their pockets. Every one of them had some U.S. money by association. You don't get power without not rubbing shoulders with somebody else. They all worked in concert together. So there was no fear. They don't fear nobody because they all in bed with each other. How you gonna fear what you shacking up with? See, you have to when you understand how the game goes, and I understand what you're saying. There always gonna be an issue because if he's up there using his bully tactics and he sets off the wrong people, yeah, it's gonna be problematic, and that's why they got to shut him up. I think they hated the one that was perception. The one that could be a long time. So Saddam Hussein, who had gotten the key to the city of Detroit in 1980, Castro lived forever and a day, but they had access. Gaddafi, it was about the bag. So I'd say at them three is probably, I'd say out of Hussein and Gaddafi was probably the one the most. But again, that stuff was all fixed anyway. I mean, the bottom line is, do they hate them any more than they hate uh what's his butt in Russia? No. Or in China? No. They don't, it's just you know, Putin and what's the cat in China? You always hear the same old stuff. But all they doing is just throwing money with them. That's all. The reason why it comes off like that is because when cats get too big headed, then it's like we got to shut them down because we help put money on their books. See, it's just nothing but game. It's a joke. It's a joke. You know. So depends on how you look at it. You know. But I'm here to tell you. You know. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. They got people thinking that they. But they created it though. They created the monsters. They create the monsters. They put the people in position. They put money on their book. It's like they locked up. They put money on their books. They blow them up. And then when people get big headed and go crazy, then they're like, "Oh, well, we got to shut them down." Well, who blew them up? So it's all bought and paid for. It's all connected. It's not the way you think it is. People think that these people don't have, like, oh, they just set up everything but by their own volition, which they do stuff, but they have had a network. It's all work like you audition. So if you're gonna be president, they know who's gonna do what, and they put people in place. People be pulling strings. So See what we got. People done got quiet again, so okay. If you on, let me know. If you not on, I don't see nothing. Okay. I'm looking to see if anybody's still on because it's gotten real quiet, so I don't know what's up. And if I don't get anybody back, I'm gonna call it a day in about a minute or two because I don't want to be doing this and nobody's on out of respect. So um, come back tomorrow. Okay. I never know what happens with these things. But anyway, sometimes you just get on and then people just disappear. So we had a mini stream. So like I said before, I'll be back on tomorrow. But I don't see nobody coming through today. And I think it was just a couple heads that showed up, so it happens. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'll call today this the way. I'll be back tomorrow. But thanks for everybody that showed up. Appreciate it. And we'll try again tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get more action tomorrow. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke. I'm on time. Peace.